Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Let's continue with the Brothers Grimm. This is the Golden Goose. Please hit the like, it's completely free and costs nothing. I would appreciate it. Thank you. The Golden Goose by the Brothers Grimm. There was once a man who had 3 sons. The youngest of them was called Simpleton. He was scorned and despised by the others, and kept in the background. The eldest son was going into the forest to cut wood, and before he started, his mother gave him a nice sweet cake and a bottle of wine to take with him, so that he might not suffer from hunger or thirst. In the wood he met a little old grey man, who bade him good day and said, "Give me a bit of that cake in your pocket, and let me have a drop of your wine. I'm so hungry and thirsty." But the clever son said, "If I give you my cake and wine, I shan't have enough for myself. Be off with you." He left the little man standing there and went on his way. But he had not been long at work, cutting down a tree, before he made a false stroke, and dug the axe into his own arm, and he was obliged to go home to have it bound up. Now, this was no accident. It was brought about by the little grey man. The second son now had to go into the forest to cut wood, and like the eldest, his mother gave him a sweet cake and a bottle of wine. In the same way, the little grey man met him and asked for a piece of cake and a drop of wine, but the second son made the same sensible answer. "If I give you some of this, I say, I shall have less for myself. Be off with you. Be off out of my way." And on he went, did the second son. Now, his punishment, however, was not long delayed. After a few blows at the tree, he hit his own leg and had to be carried home. Then Simpleton said, Let me go and cut wood, father." But his father said, "Your brothers have only come to harm by it. You had better leave it alone. You, young lad, you know nothing about it." But Simpleton begged so hard to be allowed, that eventually his father said, "Well, off you go then. You will be wiser when you have hurt yourself." His mother gave him a cake, which was only mixed with water and baked in ashes, and a bottle of sour beer. When he reached the forest, like the others, he met the little grey man, of course, was there, waiting as usual, just like his brothers. And the man greeted him and said, "Give me a bit of your cake and a drop of your wine. I'm so hungry and thirsty." Simpleton answered, "I only have cake baked in ashes and some sour beer, but if you like such fare, we will sit down and eat it together." So they sat down, but when Simpleton pulled out his cake, it was sweet, nice cake, and his sour beer was turned into really good wine. So they ate and drank, and the little man said, "As you have such a good heart and are willing to share your good, I will give you good luck. There stands an old tree. Cut it down and you will find something at the roots." So saying, he disappeared. Simpleton cut down the tree, and when it fell, lo and behold, a goose was sitting among the roots, and its feathers were of pure gold. He picked it up, and taking it with him, went to an inn, where he meant to stay the night. The landlord had 3 daughters who saw the goose, and they were very curious as to what kind of bird it could be, and wanted to get one of its golden feathers. The eldest thought, "There will soon be some opportunity for me to pull out one of those feathers." And when Simpleton went outside, she took hold of its wing to pluck out a feather, but her hand stuck fast, and she could not get away. Soon after, the second sister came up, meaning to pluck also one of the golden feathers, but she had hardly touched the sister when she found herself held fast. Lastly, the third one came with the same intention, but the others screamed out, "Keep away, for goodness sake, keep away." But she, not knowing why she was to keep away, thought, "Why should I not be there if they are there?" So she ran up, but as soon as she touched her sisters, she had to stay hanging on to them too. And they all had to pass the night like this. In the morning, Simpleton took up the goose under his arm without noticing the three girls hanging on behind. They had to keep running behind, dodging his legs right and left. In the middle of the fields they met the parson, who, when he saw the procession, cried out, "For shame, you bold girls! Why do you run after the lad like that? Do you call that proper behaviour?" Then he took hold of the hand of the youngest girl to pull her away, but no sooner had he touched her than he felt himself held fast, and he, too, had to run behind. Soon after the sexton came up, and, seeing his master and parson treading on the heels of the three girls, cried out in amazement, "Hullo, your reverend! Whither away so fast? Don't forget, we have a christening." So saying, he plucked the parson by the sleeve, and soon found himself he could not get away. At this party of five, one behind the other, tramped on. Two peasants came along the road, carrying their hoes, and obviously they saw the parson, called to them, and asked them to set the sexton and himself free. But as soon as ever they touched the sexton, they were held fast. So now there were 7 people running behind Simpleton and his goose. By and by they reached a town where a king ruled. Only one daughter was he had, and he was solemn that nothing and nobody could make the daughter laugh. So the king had proclaimed that whoever could make his solemn daughter laugh, then this person should marry. When Simpleton heard this, he took his goose, with all the people following behind. He went and took it before her, and when she saw these 7 people running one behind another, she burst into fits of laughter, and seemed as if she could never stop. Thereupon Simpleton asked her in marriage, but the king did not like him for a son-in-law, and he made all sorts of conditions. First he said to Simpleton, "You must bring him man who could drink up a cellar full of wine." Then Simpleton at once thought of the little grey man who might be able to help him, and he went out to the forest to look for him. On the very spot where the tree that he had cut down had stood, he saw a man sitting with a very sad face. Simpleton asked him what was the matter, and he answered, "I am so thirsty, and I can't quench my thirst. I hate cold water, and I have already emptied a casket of wine. But what is a drop like that on a burning stone?" "Well, there I can help you," said Simpleton. "Come with me, and you shall soon have enough to drink and to spare." He led him into the king's cellar, and the man set upon the great casks, and he drank and drank till his sides ached, and by the end of that the cellar was completely empty. Then again Simpleton demanded his bride, but the king was annoyed that a wretched fellow called Simpleton should have his daughter, and he made new conditions. He was now to find a man who could eat up a mountain of bread. Simpleton did not reflect long, but went straight to the forest, and there in the same place sat a man, tightening a strap round his body and making a very miserable face. He said, "I have eaten up a whole ovenful of rolls, but what the good of that when any one is as hungry as I am? I am never satisfied. I have to tighten my belt every day. If I am not, I will die of this hunger." Simpleton was delighted and said, "Get up and come with me. You shall have enough to eat." And he took him to the court, where the king had got all the flour in the kingdom to be brought together, and a huge mountain of bread to be baked. The man from the forest ate down before it and began to eat, and eat, and eat. And at the end of the day, the whole mountain had disappeared. Now, for the 3rd time, Simpleton asked for his bride, but again the king tried to find an excuse, and demanded a ship which could sail on land as well as at sea. As soon as you sail up in it, you shall have my daughter, he said. Simpleton went straight to the forest. There sat the little grey man, to whom he had given his cake. The little man said, I have eaten and drunk for you. Now I will give you the ship too. I do it all because you are merciful to me. Then he gave him the ship, which could sail on land as well as at sea. And when the king saw it, he could no longer withhold his daughter. The marriage was celebrated, and at the king's death, the simpleton inherited the kingdom and lived long and a happy life along with his wife. The end. There you go. That's the traditional golden goose tale. How I like that tale. It's very good, very good. Let's talk about that though. So this little grey man, the thirst and the hunger and stuff, sounds a lot like some possibly brownies or dwarfs, and they all look the same, so he wouldn't know the difference. Something like that, I think. And I mean, to attach yourself to a goose, all those people, again, I would say that signifies some sort of fairy goose or something when you look at tales. So yeah, I like it. It's a good tale. Thank you for listening, and many, many blessings.